Alright, here we are, September 18th, I think. Gonna do a little persimmon tree thing. This is a Rosy Yanka, a cross between the American persimmon and Oriental persimmon. I see there's a little webworm on here. This thing right here. I don't know what these are. I haven't studied it much, but I know they're not good because they get up here and eat the leaves. So I usually just try to pull them off. But anyway, here's the Rosy Yanka persimmon right here. And this is, the beauty of this persimmon is that it's extremely delicious. It's not as big, and I'm going to get that one. It's not as big as the Oriental, but it's got the flavor of the American persimmon. Very, very fine persimmon. Now, I don't know, when I pull those web worms off, I just put them on the ground. I don't know if that'll kill them or not. I probably should burn them. But anyway, this is the, got the Rosy Yanka here. And so we go around supposedly every day and check these persimmons because they're getting ripe, and the chickens get them. There's a, come over here, David, show that. There's a chicken over there. She's trying to reach the lower persimmons right there to get it, that one. And the birds get them, and the deer get them, and everything gets them, and then we get them. So we just kind of expect that to happen. But we have somewhere around 50 persimmon trees around here, so they're getting that one. See there? Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to go get that. This is one of the astringent varieties right here. You notice the difference in the shape here of the persimmon. This one right here is that's the pure Oriental. It's a cone-shaped one, and this one here is called I forgot really, but Haiichi maybe. Very delicious, but only when it's ripe. Now see, we're losing these persimmons here because the chickens, you see, are getting them. And this one here is astringent, which means that it's not fit for humans to eat right now because it's astringent. It makes your mouth pucker. But so they've already stole that one, so I'll give it to them. But you can see that if they can reach these lower ones, you're not going to get them. But there's not anything we can do about it. Well, really you could. I was looking for the tag. You see the tag? I'll tell you what kind it is. Mm-hmm. There's a tag on it somewhere. But there's a little spider web.
Okay.
Here's another one that the chickens have gotten to, but we'll leave it because that'll keep them busy pecking on that one. So anyway, the tag is in here somewhere, and we've probably got 5 or 6 different varieties, and only one of them is non-astringent, and that's the one called Fuyu. F-U-Y-U. And that one you can eat at all stages, even green. So probably tomorrow, as these begin to ripen, we'll pull them off and let them ripen in the house. This one right here will ripen in the house. Okay, so every day, every 2 days, actually it's been 3 days, we go around and check all the trees and pull off any that are approaching ripeness. Persimmons actually ripen well in the house. So we're going to another tree now. Okay, we finally found the tag. It was down there, but we move it. We try to leave a good, you don't need to, you need to leave a good thing. Anyway, it's H-A-C-H, Hachia, or something like that. And there's a 10 on here. That means I planted this in 2010. So this doggone tree is 8 years old. How time flies. But you see, I think the eventual size of it is going to be somewhere around 20 feet or so. So we're just cleaning it up a little bit. I find this golf club to be pretty good for cleaning. around the tree. Whoops, I knocked that one off. Alright, we've cleaned it up a little bit. There's this white powdery stuff that grows down on the bottom. You can see it. We've noticed that before in the years past. It doesn't seem to hurt the tree very much, but that is there. We're aware of that. My guess is it'd be better to keep it cleaned out under the tree pretty good. But anyway, that's the hachia or whatever persimmon, and that's the one that the chickens have been eating on. So we're going to another tree. Show you another kind over here. But we're going to go to another tree to show you. Okay. Okay, here's another persimmon tree. This one here actually we grafted on the farm from wild persimmon seed. That we have a persimmon tree that's growing 200 or 300 yards over there on the fence row, and we got the persimmons, ate the persimmons, took the seeds and planted them in this row, and then when they got a couple of years old, we grafted the oriental persimmon onto it. Now you can see the height and the size of this tree compared to the one that we out there at the front that we bought already grafted. So I don't know if it's the soil, I don't know if it's the fact that we used a local seed, but this tree is not nearly as old as that one that was 8 years old. This tree here is probably 6 years old, and you see it's beginning to make a tree. I don't know how many persimmons are on there, but there's a pile of them, and it's just going to get bigger and better. Now I'm going to go over here. So we're looking for persimmons that are beginning to get, you see this one here, the birds have already gotten to it. See, that's not a problem though, because we take them inside, and this one, like I said, is the fuyu, and you can eat the fuyu even when it's not ripe, because it's called a non-astringent variety. And let me double check on that. I'll cut this off right here. I'll taste a piece of it. Well, I'm gonna let Debbie taste it and tell me, is that the non-astringent variety?
Yeah.
Yes, that's delicious. And we're going to take this one in the house and we'll put it in the dehydrator, cut it up, and we'll make a, it's like candy. It's honestly just a wonderful gift from God, this persimmon. And so, now there's another one over here. Like I said, these are the ones we grafted ourselves, and they seem to be the most successful. And as they start to turn more orange color, the birds zero in on there and start pecking on them. And I'll show you something else. They like it so much that they actually built their bird nest in the tree right there. So I don't know what these are. I'm guessing a mockingbird. I have no idea, but they definitely they consider this to be their home right here. So, you know, about the birds and all that, and the chickens and all the animals and the deer, my philosophy on that is just plant enough for everybody, you know. So average a homestead down here in South Georgia, you know, I don't see why 50 of these trees around your place wouldn't be too many. And I want more than that, but there's a lot of people around here that pick up on it and they want to buy them from us and all that. The beauty of this thing is that it sells high. If you go to Walmart and buy them, you pay $1 a piece for these persimmons, this kind here. And local people here, not a lot of the people that are not from here, like maybe they're from Asia or China or, you know, different places, they're familiar with this and they really want them. So there's a market for it. Very little disease problems. The thing is hardy, nothing hurts it, and so I really recommend this. we'll do some videos on how to graft them, you know, because these things here, if you go to Lowe's and find one of these Fuyu trees, they're going to charge you $35 for it. But you can graft one for 50 cents if you know how to do it. And if you have, you know, the wild persimmons, which are available in a great part of the country, you know, if you know what to look for. We got another one over here, a smaller one we're going to show you that we grafted over here. So this is a, I don't know if it was grafted at the same time, I'm not sure, but anyway, it's doing nicely. And this, I'll tell you what, this thing here will also grow in a wide range of soils. This soil right here is rather rich topsoil that has washed down through the years off of this field back here. So this is what you'd call really good soil. And it's also not really dry. So I mean, it's not wet, but it's, you know, this area here stays, it's not as well drained as some soil that we have out here, but the persimmon is fine in here. There are some trees that require well-drained soil, really well-drained, might not do well here, but this thing here is will survive. And here's one here that started to turn, and we're going to get this guy. Now that way, if we didn't get this, the birds would get it tomorrow. So I'm going to walk around this tree and get the ones that are beginning to turn, and then we'll go to the next tree. All right, you can turn it on. All right, come over here. All right, we're in another location not far from that big one that we grafted, and this is called a Saijo, S-A-I-J-O. This is another astringent variety. It has a slightly different shape to it. There we go. Now that one right there is beginning to get soft on the end, and I'll tell you right now, if I don't get that one, the birds will get it.
I've already got another one up there.
See, that's a beauty right there. This kind here, you have to let it ripen on the counter until it's soft there, but it needs to be soft all over. And there's one up there that the birds have already gotten because I didn't keep up with it. Okay, so the thing is, okay, this Saijo here got a different flavor, slightly. These things are, people are connoisseurs of these things, you know. They have all kinds of, this one here is getting ripe on the bottom, actually, I see that. Okay, and that's been compromised. I don't know what happened, but something hit it, or I don't know how that got bruised. But this is another one that's over here in the good soil, like I said. And I think that might be why it's so big. This one here was also, I'm not sure when it was planted. It's probably 8 or 10 years old anyway. And it's getting some size to it, see. So these things are just absolutely delicious, and they will, one good thing about these is if these persimmons, if I don't know, if the bad stuff happens and people come out and raid your farm, if these things aren't ripe and they taste them, they're going to leave them alone and go bother somebody else. And then they'll ripen after they leave, you know. So nobody's going to grab these and eat them because of the taste of them unless they're ripe. Okay, tell you where I got these. Got the tag on here if you want to get some from, there's a place, well now I can't remember.
Just Fruits, wasn't it?
Just Fruits, I think, in
Down
Florida. And their tag is still, after 10 years, it's still, you know, pretty good. But that's a Saijo. All right, going to the next tree. Okay, you see that right there? That's a persimmon sucker or root coming from that tree over there. That tree is 20 feet away. And this thing here has run, this is the nature of persimmon trees. It runs the roots way out here. They have tremendous roots. And it has then come up right here. Now this right here will be the root stock. This is probably your wild persimmon rootstock that I planted years ago that I grafted that tree on. Now, you get out far enough away, you see in about a year, maybe 2 years, I can graft onto this right here. And it'll be the same tree. Well, it won't. I could graft a different kind of persimmon on here, but it's the same rootstock. So that's another interesting thing about persimmon trees, is the way that they sucker out and run out, and there's little ones all out here all over the place. All right, going to another tree. Okay, we're just going to take a picture of this sago tree here while I run my mouth a little bit. The bottom line on this thing, this persimmon thing, is that I highly recommend this for the homestead in South Georgia, and they're also adaptable in North Georgia and other more northern parts of the country. So it's just tremendously adaptable tree, delicious to eat, very few pest problems. You can, after you get started with them, propagate them yourself by grafting, by root suckering. It's just in my opinion, this is a gift from God to the homesteader. And you know, one tree is not going to get you now, so you're going to have to get with this if you want to try to make a, you know, this is a survival homesteading project. So get in there and get on YouTube and study up on this thing, and get down there to Lowe's, and if they've got one, get it, and if they don't, order it from somebody. Go out in the woods and get you some wild persimmons and eat them and enjoy them. Get the seeds, plant them in your garden, and then you got trees to graft to. And I will tell you this about grafting persimmon trees in South Georgia. They prefer to be grafted at least 12 inches off the ground. You don't want to graft them right at the ground. And they may take, but they do better higher, 12 inches and up. And it's also easier to graft because you don't have to bend over and get down there low. And they like to be grafted in South Georgia in May. Late April maybe is okay. May to the beginning of June. I would just say May. And and I've done it all through the year. I mean, all through the winter I've tried grafting and I've kept up with it, and they rarely survive the graft through the winter, because I think that the cambium layer doesn't grow until May, and they just basically dry out before they can take hold. So there's no sense in grafting them until they're ready, which is about May. And so this is my assessment of the Oriental persimmon. I highly recommend that. Of course, all of your livestock will eat the ones that you don't eat yourself, and your family and friends will enjoy it. And like I said, you can sell these things pretty high. All right, that's my assessment of the persimmons. So we'll try to get this on YouTube and go, and we got quite a few trees we have to check. All right, this is another one here that we actually bought this tree from Lowe's. I don't know about the rootstock. I don't know what it is. Might be an Oriental rootstock, but it's called Suruga, S-U-R-U-G-A, I believe, Suruga. And it is a non-astringent type similar to Fuyu. And it's done very well. It seems to have some kind of it's not getting huge, so it may have some kind of a dwarfing rootstock on it, I don't know, but it's suckered out tremendously. There's little trees coming up all around it. And they would be suitable for grafting onto, or digging them up and moving them to another place. So there's just another type. But they're, again, remember, the non-astringent types you can eat even like they are there, but the astringent types, you're going to have to wait until they're dead ripe. And actually, I think that the astringent types may have a more amazing flavor to them, but there's not much difference. They're all good. All right, this is Steve Coleman at Buckhorn Creek Ranch, telling you what I know about Oriental persimmons. Okay, another thing I forgot to say a while ago about deer hunters. Deer hunters know down here in Georgia that a persimmon tree is a fantastic place to put your tree stand if you're in bow season or early rifle season, because deer love persimmons, and the persimmon trees drop the persimmons around. And if you find a really nice persimmon tree and get your stand up near it somewhere, you're going to probably see a deer if the persimmons are still falling. Okay, but don't get the idea that these oriental persimmons like this Saruga or the Fuyu are going to be the same thing, because the problem is they don't drop. The only, if you had one like this in the woods, the deer could reach the persimmons, that'd be fine. But when it gets to be a big tree, they just don't drop. They hang on to the bitter end. So that's not a good option for a deer hunting tree to plant on your food plot, because basically the persimmons of these oriental persimmons don't drop like the native persimmons. Bottom line, you're going to want to put a native persimmon tree. Now let me tell you another thing. In Georgia, and probably other states too, you can get on the website of the Department of Natural Resources, Fish and Game, whatever, and you can buy persimmon seedlings very reasonably, maybe in the neighborhood of 50 cents or $1 a piece. The more you buy, the cheaper they get. So you can get on there in the spring and make an order, and they will send persimmon seedlings to you or to the local Forest Service office, and you go there and pick them up, and very reasonably, and then you can set them out in your woods, and you can use them to graft oriental persimmon trees onto. So that's the cheapest way I've ever heard of, and they're very efficient, and they don't charge very much, and the state of Georgia wants you to plant persimmons in the woods. And one of the reasons, I don't seem to be able to get to the end of this story about persimmons, the wild persimmon tree is the tree that the golf club drivers were made out of in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and even the 70s. And so people that were trying to make money would scour the woods for large persimmon trees, cut them down, and sell them to the companies that were making golf clubs, and they make the head of the driver out of it. And so the really nice persimmon trees got wiped out almost by the golf industry. However, that's not happening anymore, because golf clubs are made out of some kind of composite material. They don't use them anymore. There's almost no lumber demand for persimmon trees, and so now they're on a tremendous comeback. So that's some more about the persimmon tree. Okay, one other last thing here on the persimmon tutorial. I'm going to show you a wild persimmon tree that's growing right here in my yard, my chicken yard, my house, and all that. And that's it right there. And I'm going to zoom in. There's the base of it. This is a wild persimmon tree that was on my property when I bought the property. I'm going up the tree. This tree is pretty tall. I'm guessing, I don't know, I'll guess, I'll get up to the top and see if I can get into the top. Now let's see if I can zoom in on the persimmons, and they're still there. There's still persimmons up there. Don't know if we're going to capture them and see them or not. This is a wild female persimmon. The persimmons come in male and female. There's the top of it there. And there's persimmons on it right now, and they drop all under the tree. And the wildlife and the people get them. Right there. There's the persimmons. I can see them. Alright, and it's the middle of September. Bow season has already started down here. If you were hunting a deer, you'd want to set your stand up near a tree like this. In another week, those persimmons will all be gone, and that's the bottom right there. oh, female. There's a male tree and a female tree. The male tree does the pollination. The female tree does the fruit. We'll get over there. Show you the bark pattern of a persimmon, so you'll know a wild persimmon. It's got a very interesting bark pattern. It's kind of made into kind of a square shape and quite thick. There it is there. Very beautiful bark pattern. All right, that's the end maybe of my little tutorial on the persimmon tree. You need to get with this persimmon thing. It's here for us. I think I see some persimmons that fell on this little. No. All right. Here we are. We can't get through with this persimmon thing. One last thing, maybe. We're out in the woods. We had to get out here. We got a zebu cow that running around here. We can't find her. She's out here somewhere. But here's a tree. This is a wild persimmon tree right here. I think it was a male tree. And about 4 years ago, we grafted a fuyu persimmon on it way up there. Up in the 8 or 9, probably close to 10 feet high. We grafted it right there. Cut it off and grafted the fuyu on it. Okay, the reason we grafted it way up there is because we had some big red deer out here, and they would reach up there and eat the leaves and also eat the persimmons, and so we grafted it above where they could go. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, and I can't, there we go, look at the persimmon, and there's probably 2 or 3 dozen, maybe 1 dozen, 2 dozen persimmons up here on this tree, up 10 feet high in the air. So it was just an experiment, and there it is. Now I grafted probably 10 different trees, and some of them it ended up killing the little woods persimmon. Maybe the cut, you know, got fungus in it or something like that. I don't know, but this one appears to be successful here. So when we come through here with our wagon tour, we bring people back here, we can stop under this tree, and the wagon's up high enough to where we might actually be able to reach up here and get a persimmon. So you can graft Oriental persimmons onto Georgia wild persimmons established in the tree, in the woods. Okay, maybe this video will, maybe this will be the real end of it right here.